What led you to first become opposed to the idea of feminist ideology, and who's your favourite, most annoying feminist on YouTube? Okay, so let's start with the when did I first become opposed to the idea of feminist ideology? That's another one that's really hard to say. I've always seen the bullshit from the extremists, and I've always seen that some of it leaks into the mainstream, but I guess it wasn't really until I started watching feminist videos on YouTube and reading a lot of the online media that I realised how entrenched it was. Well, that's not entirely true, because I guess I've always had some idea, but you know, it was a gradual realisation of how bad it actually is. As for my favourite feminist on YouTube, and by favourite you mean most annoying. Wow, so many to choose from. I could pick someone like Sael Palani, or Diana Boston, or Man Cheese, or whatever name she's going by this week.
This is what this little small echo chamber of men and a few women, right? That's what they do. They just completely just cut off discourse if you disagree with them on any level. And of course they put forth bogus interpretations of research as well.
But she doesn't really make many videos on YouTube anymore, and she is so crazy. There is a almost comical feel to her. You know, you're kind of in two minds. One being outraged, and the other one is basically you're amused by her craziness. It's kind of like Peter Nolan. His craziness is both offensive and humorous at the same time, because it is so fucking crazy. But then there's people like Bunzens. Is that her name? I can't remember her name.
Yeah, it's often been said that the problem with making things idiot-proof is that someone will always come up with a better class of idiot. Look, munchkins, batshit crazy feminists.
You can minimise your chances of getting raped. Do everything that you can to minimise your chances of getting raped, and still get raped.
Batshit crazy feminists. Look, munchkins, idiot. And that it was only common sense to minimise the factors that you control. Look, munchkins, how many years have you been human? Is it so difficult for you to understand that a large portion of what you communicate to others goes through body language?
She's another one that's batshit crazy. She doesn't really make videos much anymore either. A couple of years ago I had a few run-ins with her in the comment section, where she accused me of having a previous account which was also beverage related, which is kind of strange, because this is the first and only account I've ever had, well, until recently, but that's I'll keep that on my hat. But I've never had another account which was beverage based. I kind of found that a weird accusation, and so she was either thinking of someone else or just making shit up. It's really hard to tell with her, because she's crazy, and she's the type, if she makes something up, she believes it's true. And then there's someone like you, James. Now, you, James, I've never actually done a response to him, simply because I find it hard to get through one of his videos.
Hello there, this is James Scrofty, James 1978, and one argument which is always made by MRAs and other anti-feminists who believe that they've found our Achilles heel is that, you say it's wrong to judge all feminists by the words and actions of the bigoted and exclusionary extremists. However, you judge the men's rights movement by its most extreme examples, so that's hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, I say. But no, as I explained in great detail in my previous video, links down as the underbar, the fundamental and defining distinction which renders this argument entirely null and void is that feminism is a progressive activist movement, while in direct contrast to this, the so-called men's rights movement is entirely reactionary, meaning that the only actual difference between, for lack of a better term, a moderate and an extremist MRA is the nature, depth and extent of their misogyny and their paranoid conspiracies, with the latter warning of evil plots by feminism and the state, for big government to usurp and ultimately replace men, while the former may simply believe that angry man-hating lesbians are making mountains out of molehills and are scared of being falsely accused of rape or having their pornography taken away.
They are so filled with hate towards anyone who disagrees with him. He's got that really toxic combination of arrogance and ignorance, where he thinks everything he believes in is 100% correct, and anyone who disagrees with him, even slightly, is pure evil.
Whilst feminism is always learning, changing and evolving, the so-called men's rights movement, all other anti-feminism and all other reactionary movements are defined and driven by a single self-serving issue. Stop giving what we perceive as being bigoted extremists what we perceive to be special privileges in response to their false, or at the very least grossly exaggerated claims that we are oppressing and discriminating against them, because we insist that everything's fine the way that it is, or that on the contrary, we are the ones who are genuinely being discriminated against and oppressed by them.
Because, clearly we're all pure evil and spawn of Satan, and we have no redeeming features and bullshit like that. And then there's my old buddy Gnome Turd Zero, who I had a run-in with earlier this year.
So let's do something that only intellectuals do, though. Let's get to the possibility of being wrong. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm incorrect? What if Skolade is completely correct? And that, in fact, in reality, the women are, there is sexual dimorphism. Women are just naturally less intelligent than men. Women are not as capable as men. Men are just naturally the superior gender.
Which is an argument I've never made. This is what's known as a straw man.
Play around with this concept for a second. What does that mean? What does that entail? How does that affect? What am I doing if that's wrong? Well, then I am basically perpetuating an unrealistic expectation. That's what I'm doing. That's my crime, is that if women are, as he claims, evolutionary below men.
Which is an argument I've never made. This is what's known as a straw man.
Then women are simply just, they lack the ability, the complication, the intelligence to be able to do what men do, and that the social system that currently exists is mostly correct, that men have the majority of the powerful jobs, and that I'm just simply advocating an unfair system. And if Skolade is correct, and my system gets put into place, then it will immediately fail, and women will go back to their naturally assigned roles. So that's the worst that can happen if I am incorrect.
This guy is unbelievable. He's like some evil force of nature. Basically, if you said something like, I believe men and women should be treated equally under the law, he would hear women are inferior and should be kept in cages. And that's what he would argue against. At no point does he ever actually address anything that you have actually said. He will only respond to what he thinks you actually mean, which is always totally different than what you actually mean. He basically does nothing but fight straw men. He doesn't listen to a word his opposition says. He just fights straw men. That's all he does, and it's extremely frustrating because there is no way that you can have any reasonable conversation with someone like that. I give full credit to Kevin Logan for doing the hangouts with the honey badgers. I don't agree with a lot of what Kevin says. I think probably his heart's in the right place. I just think he's got some faulty information. He'd probably say the same thing about me, and that's fair enough. But at least you can have a conversation with Kevin Logan. Someone like Gnome Turd Zero, it's just impossible to have any type of communication with the guy. Once again, it's that level of arrogance and ignorance which is just absolutely toxic beyond belief. There's probably a lot of others I could go into, but I think they're the ones that come to mind at the moment. The following clip was originally meant to be part of the Conspiracy Realist Guy podcast number 4 from memory, but I never got around to actually finishing the entire thing, so I think this is all I got done.
Hard soft. Chakra, is really my pleasure once more with you in this moment now. Another fantastic opportunity is just stay angled in your current reality, which can bring you piece by piece to a higher consciousness and a more refined energy, because metamorphosis upcoming equinox implies the possibility frequencies emerging with the consciousness of Christ, and given also metamorphosis activation of the frequencies higher than your world and your reality. Bob. As always, frequencies, is a pleasure for me to share the details of these processes that undergo your incarnations and your organizations. Because it's important to note this time chakra is not just a small insignificant activation, but it is obvious that this equinox in your world inside and do the dramatic changes more. Ba duba da ba duba ba duba da ba duba ba duba da ba duba. We are dealing with more profound metamorphosis, where all that is old, familiar, which was part of you for so long, split you in new embodiments, layers of your being, your chakra opportunity to play an active role. The determining factor in your decision willpower and the higher of your being embodiments are important for you and your observations in your development and growth. Bob. More and more, your achievements are still active layer by layer and during metamorphosis equinox to come. It is more particularly to refine of the body, which will pass through the great change metamorphosis activation. I refer to your etheric administration as metamorphosis second refined body, composed of specific layers in the chakra. The difference in the layers of the etheric body consist of different frequencies, which means that everything is enabled on a personal level will vary frequencies and individual at ba duba da ba duba ba duba da ba duba ba duba da ba duba.
You judge the men's rights movement. You judge the men's rights movement. You judge the men's rights movement by its most extreme examples. So that's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy.